Hey folks, today we're doing a video on the 5 reasons not to move to Toronto, Ontario. I'm your host, Tom Moore, and here at Canadian Neighborhoods, we've built up a massive network across the country to assist you to make a move, whether it's between provinces or from outside of Canada into Canada. We've got a representative for you in any city, so be sure to reach out. Other than that, let's get to the video. All right, so the number one reason not to move to Toronto is the high cost of living. Now, Toronto, like much of Canada over the last couple of years, has become more expensive, but because Toronto is our biggest metropolitan area, it's going to rank even higher. So for instance, a one-bedroom right now in kind of the downtown or city center area is going for around $2,500. Your average bus fare is, I think, right around $335, and then groceries and everything else are much the same as across the country. So overall, what we've seen throughout Canada and in Toronto as well, is we've seen the cost of anything from grabbing a beer, going to the grocery store, or doing anything that requires you to pay for it go up in price. So this is just something to keep in mind before you move here, to just really figure out what your budget is, what you're going to be spending your money on, and how much it's going to cost you maybe per week or per month. Okay, reason number 2 is going to be the winters. Now, Toronto, surprise, surprise, is a Canadian city, so like everywhere in Canada, it does experience winters. Now, these can vary and have kind of varied over the last 10 years or so, but generally you're going to have about 5, maybe 4 months of snow, and then a couple side months of just it be cold or crappy weather. So this is something that just keep in mind when you're coming here. Make sure you've got winter clothes, you're bundled up, and have the also understanding that generally in Canada, we tend to kind of batten down the hatches when it comes to winter. You tend to kind of stick within your own little crew of friends or whatever it is, or family or anything like that. And then in the summertime, that's when people get out and enjoy everything that Canada has to offer. So in the winter, Toronto's going to have decently long winters. But the other nice thing about that is that Toronto's such a big city, there's so much to do. You can kind of find things to do if it is, in fact, crappy weather. Okay, reason number 3 is going to be the metropolitanness and the pace of life you find in Toronto. Toronto is kind of like Canada's version of New York City. It's the country's largest city, and with that, you're going to get a lot of that kind of metropolitan vibe. So, large crowds everywhere you go, big traffic, but also some of the benefits like restaurants, things to do. It's a massive city. And so you're going to have a lot of things to do in that sense. But the other side of things is going to be a pace of life. One thing that I notice when I get off the plane coming into Toronto from another city or anything like that is my pace almost quickens. And that's just kind of keying into the fact that people here are here to work. They've got things on the go, and it's a very fast-paced kind of way of life. So you're not going to find that community and that small town vibe here, but in return, you're going to get that metropolitan things to do, lots going on all the time. Okay, so reason number 4 is going to be the traffic, the congestion, and the commute. Now, Toronto is a city of several million people. It's the largest in Canada. So with that, you're going to have large traffic issues. And depending on where you're living in Toronto, your commute may be upwards of over an hour, sometimes even 2 hours. So these are things to kind of keep in mind when you are planning your move to Toronto is, A, where do you want to live? And B, how long is that going to take you to get to work? Because if you're going to work 5 days a week, it's taking you 2 hours each way to get to work. And this is something to kind of consider if you are going to be making a move here. Now, alternatively, the nice thing about the traffic and the congestion and everything like that is you can't hop on public transit, which kind of skirts you around it, whether you're on the subway, the trolleys in some cases, and the commuter rails. But this is just another kind of aspect to really take into account before you make a move to Toronto. Here we are on King and West Spadina, and as you can see, it's quite the traffic. All right, the 5th reason to consider kind of not moving to Toronto is for healthcare. And there's a bit to unpack here, so bear with me. Now, when it comes to healthcare in Canada, in Toronto, getting a hold of your own family doctor can be very difficult. There's often very long wait lines. And it's very hard to kind of get a hold of a family doctor. Now, there's the alternative here is you can go into walk-in clinics, which are kind of for everybody, or if you have an emergency, then obviously there's the emergency hospital, which brings us to our point number kind of 2, which is the emergency services in Canada are incredibly high quality. There could just be issues with the wait time. Now, depending on what you're getting done, so if you have a heart attack, obviously you're going to have no wait at all, but if you've got a broken thumb, or even maybe a scheduled surgery, something along those lines. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer. And when you're actually looking to get one of these services done, some people, if they have the means, although we're all on the same tier of healthcare, it's all one tier, there is services that allow you to maybe schedule an MRI or get x-rays done a little quicker, something like that. That's an option. And some people also will fly to the States if they want the operation done, as soon as possible. Money's no object. The other thing too, I just wanted to bring to your attention, I've got the sick kids building here in behind me, which you can't really see, but the children's pediatric stuff moves very, very quickly. That's a very high quality service and is really something you don't really have to worry about here in Canada. It's all very, the kids get taken care of, put it that way. St. Mike's Hospital, one of the many kind of hospitals scattered around downtown Toronto. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video on the 5 reasons not to move to Toronto. As I mentioned before, we are helping people like yourselves make a move in Toronto or across the country. We've built up a massive network to assist you with this, and we love getting reached out to by individuals like yourself. Now, one more thing before you go, be sure to subscribe to the channel one more time. This channel is purposely built to give you more content on the large Canadian cities around Canada. So if you're living in another province, or maybe you're living outside of the country, this is the perfect channel for you. We'll see you in the next video.